last time. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to a wonderful beginning of Shabbat. So the whole purpose tonight is for all of us to enter Shabbat, and we're already in a new month, which we'll be celebrating tomorrow. And so, especially though for this family, because there must have been so many arrangements going on to be able to get to this moment. I want them to especially feel that where we're at this point, the point of Shabbat in many ways, not original in saying this, is that it's our time to experience the world without feeling a need to change anything. Whoever is in the world with us right now, they're enough. They're enough to receive love from and love. Whatever my circumstances are, tomorrow I can worry about making them better, but today there's going to be something in my world to feel grateful for. So in other words, even though all the preparation happens during the week, on Shabbat, whatever happens this Shabbat is meant to be. And it's still beautiful and perfect. As I, will tell Soroya, especially tomorrow morning, as I'll whisper in her ear, you can't mess up. Because to me, if you mess, there is no messing up. If you say a word that some may perceive as wrong or something like that, then it was meant to be that way because you're incredibly beautiful inside and out. We love you, we love you. The reason we're here is to appreciate the incredible world we get to live in and the fact that you're in it. So there's nothing you could do that would change even one iota of that. So we prep as much as we can, but once we get to this moment, everything's fine. The weather's beautiful enough, and the people are beautiful enough, and all of the Hebrew and the praying is beautiful enough. So we can just relax into it. I was reading this reading, I haven't read it in many, many years, by Wendy Jaffe, and she was a mom, or she was reflecting back on when she was a bat mitzvah, and she saw someone in her family was crying, and so she wrote this reflection. Considering that I'd never heard or seen my father crying in my entire life of 13 years, I was stunned by his open display of emotion as he spoke to me when I finished the Torah reading. As the years passed, I had occasion to witness several more bar and bat mitzvahs and began to understand the reason behind the tears. This is why I think parents cry. We cry because we cannot believe we are old enough to have a 13-year-old child as our third. And we cry because there are so many people that we loved and desperately miss, who passed away, but should have been sitting among the other beaming friends and relatives who fill the congregation. We cry because it is one of the few times in your life when nearly everyone who cares about you will be in the same room at the same time. We cry because we wasted so much time agonizing about finding the perfect invitation or caterer or photographer, seating charts, finding the perfect dress, conservative yet fashionable, when it suddenly becomes clear that this is the moment that really mattered all along. We cry out of happiness that we will no longer have to listen to endless complaints about attending Hebrew school. Not that Soroya, I don't think see that was, and have to nag you to study your Torah portion. And out of sadness that yet another chapter of your life is passing behind you. We cry because your innocent childhood years are now behind you, and angst-filled years perhaps lie ahead. And so we cry. And this is why tissues can be found at the rear of the sanctuary. Let's start today with a Shalom Aleichem. I know not everyone is fluent in Hebrew, and that's okay. You can always just hum along. It really just means, let's just sing it, and you'll figure it out. Page 5 at the bottom. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu Barchuni l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mihi melech malachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mihi melech malachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. If you read the English translation at the bottom of page 5 on the left, you see that it seems to be about wishing everyone else a Shabbat Shalom, may peace be upon you, including the invisible forces around us, including, let's say, the angels, and welcome them into your midst. But there's a wonderful interpretation that I really, really love on a night like this. And it's kind of a Hasidic interpretation of Shalom Aleichem, which is instead of this come in peace, angels of peace, bless me with peace, angels of peace, it's actually about the Jewish life cycle events. That Shalom Aleichem is, it's a wedding. It's the wedding when two people fall in love and get married, that the love that emanates out from them is an invitation to the universe, L'dor Vador, invitation to expand that love into a family. So Shalom Aleichem is shalom to you, the angels and the souls on high. Boachem l'shalom is the moment of conception. And it's the moment of lovemaking that says, we invite, please come. Boachem means come in peace. You're inviting a soul to join the family officially. And then that soul finds its way into the family, and the third stanza is the bat mitzvah, Barchuni l'shalom. It's a moment where you say, this one that I welcomed in and I've taken care of, I'm now saying to them, not please come, may you be in peace. You're saying, bless me. And so the idea being that they're at an age where you realize that they're blessing you. They're capable of blessing you. They have the talents and the gifts. They're coming into their own. And Seidchem L'Shalom is when they go to college or when they move out of the home. It's when you say, I've had this amazing experience of these three things. May you go out. Seidchem means may you go out. May you go out in peace and bring those blessings to the world. I'm going to invite family members to come up and welcome. You're right on time. I was stalling. No, I wasn't stalling at all. I invite family members to come up right now to light candles. And whoever wants to come up, come up. You don't have to know the blessing. We'll do it all together. I can't promise that these gold matches will work on the first try. Otherwise, we do no wrong. I know, it's like you can gather around. I know, I'll have to go down and watch. I mean, I will go down. Will everyone please rise? Would you speak at this time, or would you rather speak at the end?
Well, you just said so honored to be here today to celebrate our new hours of lessons. It's worked so hard over so many years to prepare for this moment, and we're so happy to be sharing with our family. And we're so grateful to the rabbi today and to be excited to speak with us tomorrow. And it's helped us so much to prepare for this. And so we are so proud of you. And just as the rabbi said, we're ready in every way possible to see you so much.
Another Daddy, we've been so blessed to have 3 wonderful daughters, all shine in their own ways. And Soraya, I think, shines in a number of ways. She's the Neapolitan, the strawberry Neapolitan for us. And at the same time, she has an independence and a passion that you see in all of her activities, whether it be playing euchre and wanting to win, or whether it's gymnastics, school, French, or just debating current events. All of these things, it really comes out. And I think she's, over the past 3 years, has really applied this both passion and independence to the studies, and really preparation for today. It's really been remarkable to watch the process. And so, for those of you that can attend, I think you're really in for a treat tonight. You're very proud.
One of the teachings we were able to share in the class leading up to this is that I asked, what's the difference between a life cycle event like graduating high school or learning to drive and a rite of passage, which this really is. And one of the answers is that a life cycle event is really important to family. 90th birthday, a wedding, learning, graduation. But a rite of passage is important to the entire community. And I know we have community members here tonight who are part of this group, and it isn't joy to see such an angelic person, so committed to her values and her education, and part of such an incredible family on both sides, and taking her place with her sisters as an adult in this world. So we are happy to join in with your nachas and your pleasure. This is an important day for the entire community. We'll go through the prayers of the service, and we won't keep you, it'll be a good warm-up for tomorrow. So the prayers for the Friday night service begin on page 11 with L'chuna Ranana, with the psalm which was the psalm of arrival. It was used by pilgrims who made their way to Jerusalem, the holy city. That's the way this biblical psalm was used, and it was placed here in the service to say that we've now arrived at Shabbat. We've arrived at a very important new beginning, and so we sing together. For those who know it, there's also transliteration on the pages on the left. So page 11. L'chuna Ranana L'Adonai Nariha Litzor Yishenu Nikadma Fanav B'tohodah Bizmirahot Narihalom. Let our mouths be filled with the songs of thanksgiving and of gratitude. We will raise our voices in song. So we turn to the next page of page 12. We finish the psalm by saying, it is easy to chase away the Spirit of God, the spirit of gratitude, with complaint, which is what our Torah is full of our people doing. May we not make the same mistake. May we learn from their mistakes, so that for the next 25 hours of Shabbat, 27 hours of Shabbat, that we do not find the world falling short, but rather we find it full. Arba'im shana akud bedor v'homar am tohe levavim v'hem lo yadu derachai asher nishbati v'yapihi im yavon el menuchati. And the psalms that extend from page 14 and forward are psalms that warm us up and to follow through with those spiritual commitments. And they say that there's song filling nature all around us. If we can really hear it, God hears the sounds of the creatures from the very smallest to the largest, to the inside of us, to the outside of us. The fields and the forest are all full of sounds that God hears as music. And we should too as well. We should strive to join in with the music with joy and to balance it with its beautiful harmonies, even though injustice during the week can make us fail to hear the harmony that beckons from God through creation. And so we will not allow the smoke that shields God's presence from us, the call to justice, the reality of living a good life in this world and its own rewards. We will break through with the music and feel God's kindness and the calls to behave and to aspire, to fulfill. And that takes us all the way to Lecha Dodi on page 23. I'm going to share a quick poem at this time. Okay, Harvey, you've heard this poem. I apologize. Meg, you've heard this poem, okay? So you know it's one of my favorites. I come from a family of 3 children, and so whenever I see a family of 3 children, I think of this poem. It's not in the book. It's by Yehuda Amichai, one of Israel's greatest poets of all time, and I'll just read the English. It goes like this. Like a ship's captain who, after a dinner party, shows his guests the engine room, they must descend deep into the heart of the ship because the VIPs requested it. And he takes the VIPs down the iron steps, opens doors with a clang and closes them, and they stand marveling at all the shining and the spinning and the going up and down. In this way, I show my guests my children's bedroom, open a door and close it quietly, and I show my dinner guests 3 sorts of breathing in different rhythms in the small room which is now infinite, and a faint bluish light shines above the door. That takes us to Lecha Dodi on page 23, and for those who know it, follow along. If not, you're welcome to hum along as well. Lecha Dodi likra kahala penei Shabbat nekabela shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad hishmianu el hamiuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shem u'tiferet v'litila Lecha Dodi likra kahala penei Shabbat nekabela likra Shabbat lechu v'necha ki mekor haberacha mirosh mikedem nesucha sof maaseh b'machshava techila Lecha Dodi likra kahala penei Shabbat nekabela mikdash melech Melucha kumitzei mitocha hafecha harav lach shevet be'emek abacha vehu yachamol alayichem la Lecha Dodi likra kahala penei Shabbat nekab. Page 25. V'hayu limshisa shosa yifraku kol mevalayich asisa layich Elohayich kimsos chatan ahakala Lecha Dodi likra kahala penei Shabbat nekabela yamin usmo'ol tifrohot tziviyet Adonai taharitzi ayad ben yishai ben partzi v'nismecha v'nagila Lecha Dodi. Please rise. Kakahala. Let's face the entrance and welcome the spirit of Shabbat. Boi v'shalom atere b'halaha gam b'simcha u'v'tzahalaha toch emunei aham segula boi chala Lecha Dodi likra kahala penei Shabbat nekabela. And we may be seated. This little wedding ceremony that we do, it reminds us that God could be the infinite one that fills everything, but instead God wishes to have a partner in humanity, and so that we can have the experience of partnership in creating a better world and a better creation. Brings us to the Shabbat Psalm on page 27. Mizmor shir, shir liyom HaShabbat. Mizmor shir, shir liyom HaShabbat. טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך העליון, להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות. מזמור שיר, מזמור שיר, שיר ליום השבת. מזמור שיר, מזמור שיר, שיר ליום השבת. We continue silently all the way through until the end of the psalm on page 28. Tzadik tamar yifrach ke'erez balvanon yiskeh shetulim bevet Adonai bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu. O Dieu nouveau beseva deshenim verananim yihu lehagid ki ashar Adonai tzuri tzuri v'lo havlatabo. So appropriate on a Shabbat like this, that the psalm finishes, Psalm 92, with the image of those who are planted in the soil of rich values inherited from family, and who are nourished by love and community and family. They grow strong inside, strong resilience, and as they get older and they become in older age, they still remain fresh and bountiful and fragrant, with new creativity, new possibilities, and new projects and purposes to follow through with. And that takes us to the first of our two mourners' Kaddises of the night. It can be found all the way on page, no, I missed it, on page 30. At this time, I'd like to share the names of those we're saying Kaddish for, and I'm going to ask you for names as well. On this Shabbat, Beth Israel congregation remembers, among others, the Yortzites of Tova Miriam Amanoff, Morris Appelman, Lloyd Bender, Arthur Bernstein, Ellen Bodner, Hyman Brader, Nathaniel Francis Chaikin, Jerry Chapnick, Marianne Davis, Frank Fischau, Herman Franzblau, Francis Fuchs, Harry Gans, Samuel Geffen, Seymour Gilman, Martin Goldstein, Toby Herson, Saul Kahn, Julia Karp Kirsch, Ann Lamp, Murray Henry Miller, Sarah Milstein, Mildred Monto, Rose Morris, Ellen Moss, Henry Nelson, Vivian Perlstein, Ira Stephen Piquel, Melvin Reich, Schiffer Reichman, Victor Rosenberg, Mamie Schaefer, Lily Scheinbeim, David Schulman, Harry Scott, Lawrence Segar, Bruce Serwin, Norman Shapiro, Ruth Sherman, Jean Schokler, Ruth Steindl, Max Urist, Florence Veneer, Judith Flappin, and Ellen Emmer. And for all those saying Kaddish, please rise and recite with me on page 30. Yitgadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, bi'alma divra kirute, bi'amlich malchute, v'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayedecho Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kari v'imru amen. Yehe shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam ulamei amaya. Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitale v'yitalal shmei dekudesha brichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromah, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru, amen. And of course, on this special Shabbat, we're remembering Seymour Jerus as well. May his memory continue to bring blessings to this world. We continue with the second half of the service, beginning on page 39a. Please rise for the call to worship the Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. We may be seated. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bivaro ma'ariv ha'olam. Umavir yom umevi laila, mavdil ben yom uvein laila, Adonai tzvaot shemo, el chai v'kayam, tamidim lo chalenu le'olam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai ha'ma'ariv ha'ravim. On page 40, we're preparing for the Shema on the next page, our major line of Creed. And the Ahavat Olam is the Shema, that God is one, is bracketed on two sides by prayers about love. On page 40, we are feeling the love that the universe or God shows us by giving us the ability to understand things. The ability that being able to learn and understand the way nature, the world, universe, creation works is a gift of love. And then we say the Shema, and then we say we return that love by becoming teachers as best we can. So let's sing straight through. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Ahavta Torah u'mitzvot chukim u'mishpatim otanu limadeta Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shachvenu v'kumeinu nasiach b'chukecha v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha u'v'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed ki hem chayenu v'yorech yamenu Yorech Yameinu Uvahem Nege Yomaham Valayla V'avatcha Tasimen Od Olamim Baruch Atah Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 41. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele Asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha b'derech uv'shachpecha uv'kumecha u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha V'hayu letotafot beinecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha. We continue the service silently on 42. We have the prayer about climate consequences happening when ethical behavior is not practiced communally, and it continues on in methods of holiness all the way into 44. Adonai Elohechem Amen. 44. Umalchuto beratzon kiblu aleihem Moshe uMiriam u'bnei Yisrael lechanusha b'simcha rabba v'yamruchu laham mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh Nohorati Lord O Sefele Malchutecha Ra'u Vanecha Bokeyam Lifnei Moshe Ze'eli Anu V'yameru Adonai Yimloch Leolam Va'ed V'ne'emar Kifada Adonai Yaakov Golem Gazak Mimenu Baruch Ata Adonai Ga'ah Yisrael. On page 45, we're going to read in English. We'll read down the page on the left for the Hashkivenu. It reminds us that anyone who is suffering tonight from hunger, from food insecurity, from anxiety, sadness, depression, from physical disease and ailment, or from worry, from what the life will bring tomorrow. We are wishing for them to have a protective spiritual layer placed around them, so that they have a night of feeling safe and hopeful. Together, allow us, Adonai, our God, to sleep peacefully. Awaken us to life, O Sovereign. Spread over us your canopy of peace. Restore us with your good counsel, and save us for the sake of your name. Shield us. Remove from us enemies, pestilence, sword, starvation, and sorrow. Remove the evil forces that surround us. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings, for you, God, watch over and deliver us, and you, God, are sovereign, merciful, and compassionate. Ensure our going and coming for life and peace, now and forever. May you spread over us your canopy of peace. Baruch Ata Adonai, who spreads the canopy of peace over us, over all the people of Israel, over Jerusalem, and over the world. Continue the service on page 46. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam ki sheshet yamim Asa Adonai et ha-shamayim v'et ha'aretz uvayom ha'shvi'i shavat vayinafash. At this point, before the Chatzi Kaddish, in the middle of 46, we're going to have that prayer and head right into our standing silent prayer. Originally, the heart of the service was just pure silence with either liturgy or prayers that were circulated or psalms or your own spontaneous prayers, and we preserve that today in the Amidah. So I usually share a thought in case you're like, I don't know what I'm going to pray tonight. I need Rabbi, give me 30 seconds to get me centered. So I'm going to share something that I shared with the class this year and see if it applies to you. In the story of Hagar and Ishmael in Genesis chapter 21, which we read on Rosh Hashanah, the Hebrew betrays very, very deep message that is missed in all of the English. You see a bunch of adults, Sarah, Abraham, the surrogate mother Hagar, who's carrying the baby and has given birth to the next leader of the tribe Ishmael. And now Sarah is pregnant and has given birth, and now she wants that child gone. And you have all these parents basically squabbling over the children. And all the way through, when describing the children, they never use their names. And instead, they say, cast out that servant and her son, protect my son. The matter was worrisome to Abraham because it concerned his son. So like all these words that are sort of how this soul is in relation to me, they're mine. And then it goes on, and every time one of the humans in the story is looking at Ishmael, who is being cast out along with his mother, really likely in great unfairness, they keep referring to him as a child or as a baby. But if you look at the previous chapter, chapter 20, you realize that he's 13 years old. So they keep talking about my son, my son, my son, and he's a baby, he's a child, he's a child, he's a child. But when God or the angel or God's messenger appears, they don't see a child, they see a na'ar, which is a very technical, biblical Hebrew word that refers to a 13-year-old. It means adolescent. I guess we have that word today. It means adolescent. It's always translated partly because King James didn't use the word adolescent, it said lad. So you see lad, it sounds like child. So here's the message, and we talked about it in the class. It's very easy to see the people in our lives as if they are living in a different part of their lives. Or we just see them as a child when they're really 13. They're not a 10-year-old anymore. Now, they're a little bit like a 10-year-old, but they're not a 10-year-old. Sometimes I think we see, since I work a lot with older folks, I think we all see them as like, be careful in Ann Arbor. If you see someone who's 80 or 90 or 95, and you say something like, oh, they're a sweet old lady, right? I'm like, yeah, she was a surgeon, not just sweet old lady. Like you have these like images, right? So I think it's so interesting the way we sort of see people as a child or as, an old person, and we're not seeing really their soul shining through, which is all the way through time. The beautiful thing about an adolescent is if you look hard, and I'm not saying I'm great at it, but I try. It's one of the reasons I meet with them and write speeches. I just like to look and listen to them and what they're saying, and I imagine them like 20 years older than they are. I'm like, here is a really smart 33-year-old. And they have a lot to say. And then sometimes they'll say something and like, I remember thinking that when I was 12. Like it's like they're phasing in front of me. Old, young, middle. And how do we like allow that to happen with the people in our lives? Like let them be travelers in time in front of us. And so really appreciate them and hear them rather than just say, that's my daughter, or that's my child, or they're a cranky old person, or a sweet, wise old person. How do we take out the caricature and really see all phases of their life vibrating at once, which is the way the text of Genesis portrays them. Chatzi Kaddish, page 46, so please rise for the standing silent prayer. Yitkada v'yitkada shemei rabba bi'alma divra kirtei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imeru amen Yehi shmei rabba mevarach v'yalam u'lamei almaya Yitbarach, Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yipar, V'yitromam, V'yinaseh, V'yitadar, V'yitaleh, V'yitalal, Shmeru Kudesha, Brichu, Le'ela, Min Kol Berchata, V'shirata, Tushbechata, V'nechemata, Mihiran B'yama, V'yimeru. Liturgy in Hebrew or in English, or the readings at the sides of the pages from 47 to 52, or your own personal thoughts, prayers, and meditations. If you're doing the liturgy, don't forget Rosh Chodesh on page 50. This is the new month. When you are finished your prayers, you may be seated, but no rush. For those still praying, please continue as we begin a little bit of singing on page 53. Vayechulu hashamayim v'haaretz v'chol tzevam vayechal Elohim bayom hashvihi melachto asher asa Vayishpot bayom hashvihi mikol melachto asher asa Vayevarech Elohim et yom hashvihi Vayekadesh oto Kivo shavat mikol melachto Kivo shavat mikol melachto Asher bara Elohim asher bara Elohim la'asot Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Konei Shamayim v'Aaretz Magen Avot bidvaro Mechaye Meitim b'Maharo Ha'el HaKadosh she'ein kamohu Hameniach le'amo B'yom Shabbat kodsho Kivam ratza lehaniach lahem Kivam ratza lehaniach lahem Lefanav na'avo b'irav v'fachad V'nodeh lishmo b'chol yom tamid Me'on habrachot El hahodaot Adon hashalom Mekadesh hashabat Umvarech shevihi Umeniach bikdusha Li'amedu shnei honeg Zecher L'maaseh v'reishim. Top of 54, let's read the final bracha of the Amidah in English. Our God and God of our ancestors, embrace our rest. Make us holy through your mitzvot, and let the Torah be our portion. Fill our lives with your goodness, and gladden us with your deliverance. Purify our hearts to serve you truly. Adonai, our God, lovingly and willingly grant that we inherit your holy Shabbat, that the people Israel who make your name holy may find rest on this day. Baruch atah Adonai, who makes Shabbat holy. Yikadav yikadash shemei rabba, b'yamad yivrakirte, v'yamlich machute, b'chayachonu v'yamechonu v'chayducho beit Yisrael, b'agalav yizman kari v'imeru, amen, yehi shmei rabba mevarach, li'alam ulam me'almaya. Yiparach v'ishtabach v'yipar v'yitramam v'yinaseh v'yitadar v'yitala v'yitala shmeru kudesha brichu le'elam min kol berchatav shirata tishbchatav v'nechamata damiram b'yama v'imeru tikabal tzlo tonavat hon l'cho Yisrael kol damav hon v'yishmaya v'imeru yehi shamar b'min shemaya v'chaim alenu v'al Yisrael v'imeru oseh shalom b'mromav hu yaseh shalom alenu v'al kol Yisrael v'imeru. Amen. Please rise for Kiddush on page 55. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu. V'shabbat kodsho b'yahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila l'mikrahei kodesh zecher l'tziat mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta V'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha b'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Remain standing, and I'm calling up Soroya for Aleinu on page 56. Soroya, are you thin enough to squeeze through here? Or you can stand here. I wanted to give you the practice because I know tomorrow you'll be facing this way. That's right. If her sweater lights on fire, will you let me know? Or actually, I'm going to move this. There you go. Okay, 56. We continue silently to the edge. Last three lines, page 57. Or last two lines. You may be seated except for those who are saying the mourner's touch. We'll be saying it together on 58. And Soroya, will you say it with us in honor of your grandfather Seymour? Yitgadam v'yitadash shemei rabba. Amen. V'yamad tivra hiruteh v'yamviv malchuteh. V'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayei techol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei rabba v'barach v'olam v'lamed maya. Yibarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitadleh v'yitadlah. Shmei d'kudashah b'rikur. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechamata. Da'amiran v'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom v'rumah. Hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Can I ask, we may see it, but you can get the page number for our Olam.
Sure, it's 211.
Come on. We should do races. Okay, so Adon Olam, we're on 211, and let's have a closing song.
Adon Olam,
Adon Olam,
Asher Malam,
Asher Malam,
B'terem
B'terem
Kol,
Kol,
Yitzir Nivra,
Yitzir Nivra,
Li'it
Li'et Nasar,
B'chav Sikol,
B'chev Tzakol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam. V'acharei kichlot hakol, Levado himlok nora Adon Olam. Vehu haya, vehu hove, vehu yeh b'tifara adon olam. Echad v'ein sheni, lehamshilo lehachbira adon olam. Beli reshit, beli tachlit, velo ha'oz v'hamisra adon olam. Vehu eli, v'chai goali, v'tzor chevli be'et sara adon olam. Vehu nisi, umanos li, menat kosi b'yom ekra adon olam. Biyado afkid ruchi, be'et isha v'ya'ira adon olam. Ve'im ruchi. Let's finish really strong. Adonai li velo ira adon olam. Shabbat shalom. The service will continue in the morning at 9:30 a.m. and we wish the family only wonderful, wonderful time together. Shabbat shalom. And we begin the 16th day of the Omer after dark. Thank you. So good to see you. I look forward to it.